Project, and we do church together. I think Michael didn't mention that we are church. We make church happen. And it's through the efforts of numerous people that show up and do all kinds of things that church happens. So we make church. And church is kind of a iffy word these days. We just are almost done reading the book Soul Boom. And he talks about how we need a spiritual revolution. And what he says are there's something like 10 or 11 different components that would make up a church. And he is not aware, I think, that Unity actually has all 10 of them plus. He says that we need to believe in the idea of one spirit. We need to believe that that spirit is within each one of us, and that we need to join together so that we can worship together and recognize that light of spirit that shines within each one of us. He says that women need to have a place in the church. That's very important, which I totally agree with for some reason. And he also says the last big thing that he thinks is extremely important for church to happen is potlucks. Yay, Roger. So we have today, it's not potluck, it's just a gift, but we do have food to savor together after church. So enough about that. Let me see if I can. Oh, wolves are very important as well. Years ago, we had a woman minister who did Women Who Run with the Wolves. And anyway, in case you're wondering, this wolf today is going to tell the story. And it's the true story of what really happened to the three little pigs. So, but this wolf also makes an appearance in Little Red Riding Hood. In case you don't remember, Little Red Riding Hood has to go see your grandma, and the wolf disguises himself as grandma. And so that's what this wolf up front today is, disguised as grandma. But somehow I think the hidden wolf shows up a little bit, and even including wearing boots so his paws don't show. Anyway, let me get my notes here. So first of all, I wanted to start with just a little story from Divine Audacity. And the book Divine Audacity was written by a favorite person, mine, Linda Martella Whitsett, who was the head of Silent Unity prayer services at Unity Village until fairly recently. And she really promotes the 12 powers in this particular book. And her take on the 12 powers has been really a great blessing to me. So I encourage you, if you're not familiar with this book, to take a look at it if you can. I think there's a copy in the library. And she talks about zeal, which is the actual power of the month as thought of by Charles Fillmore. But she has different words that are also about zeal. And one of those words is enthusiasm, which tells us why the Speakers Committee talked about the beauty of enthusiasm. To quote Linda, enthusiasm is our eagerness for life, our interest in and optimism about our intentions and our plans. Zeal is noticeable. People living at high levels of zeal are often described as energetic, bright as filled with light. In case you didn't know, that's why we're singing This Little Light of Mine. Zestful and exuberant. So Linda talks about how she learned about the great power of enthusiasm from her father. And this is the story. It's Tuesday in July. My daughter Alicia and I spend the day with my father at Island Beach State Park in New Jersey. Dad, at age 78, drives 2.5 hours to and from the shore once or twice a week in season. He used to walk the beach and swim the ocean. Nowadays, his body is too frail to do all that he could do in years past. He does what he can, pushing his sand cart loaded with towels, umbrella, beach chair, cooler, and all he needs for the day, pushing with one arm while leaning into his cane with the other, slowly making his half-mile pilgrimage from this parking lot to the seashore. Shrunken, hardly a reflection of his younger, sturdy body, my father sets up his shrine, digging the umbrella pole a foot deep into the sand, laying out his blanket, placing his chair where the sun and shade might meet, spraying and rubbing in sunscreen. Dad uses a converted back scrubber to apply the lotion where he cannot reach. After all those efforts of the morning, he is tired. He prostrates before the sacred sun with a smile on his face for the first nap of the day. The surf is rough today, so I walk alongside Dad from our spot on the beach down to the lifeguard stand where Dad deposits his cane. Quickly, he assesses the situation. Sadly, he realizes the undertow is too strong to hold himself upright. He tells me how he often crawls on all fours to get into the water, his upper body still strong despite having sticks for legs. I think he is embarrassed to have his daughter see him this way. He decides not to swim out. Instead, he kneels just off the shore so that the foamy waves roll into his chest. The waves rush in. He reaches out his arms, scooping the seawater up and over his hairless head, washing his face and neck and shoulders with it. Over and over again, he does this for 10 minutes or more until his knees tire. My heart is aching for him. I want him to be able to swim out in a perfect crawl stroke against the current. I feel his diminished condition as a personal loss. I have no words, only my unsteady shoulder to support him and his cane back to our beach chairs. But his next words surprise me. I expect he will express disappointment in his inability to ride the waves. Instead, he exclaims, "That was refreshing. There's nothing as good as the ocean." And I think that's the attitude, the idea of zeal and enthusiasm that we really need to use. And that's one of the things that Unity teaches us over and over again, is to greet the day with joyous enthusiasm and zeal, to do what we can do as best of our ability, and to just bless each moment of each day, even if we may be diminished in power, bodily control, whatever it is that we could look at in a negative way, but instead to just grip the day and know that truly we are blessed right where we are. So the word for today is imagination. And I thought imagination was really pretty good for this month of zeal. Obviously, we've all used some imagination just in getting here and seeing other people's imagination peeking out, showing us what they can be, what they're maybe not their true character, but something that they've at least discovered they have the ability to show up as. So the word for today is imagination. I imagine and create my most magnificent life. And so I encourage all of you to remember that zeal goes into imagining and creating our most magnificent life. This is why I think it's really important that we do have the meditation for the world on Thursdays, that we do have a prayer practice, that we do have our prayer circle and silent unity, because our attitudes, our beliefs can indeed change the world. They may not seem like they're changing the world outside, but as we change our own attitudes, it's amazing the things that can change. And so when you meet that person that pushes your buttons, that person that you don't know, you don't really quite appreciate, that person that just irritates you a little bit, maybe the way they dress is kind of strange, maybe their voice is a little off-putting, maybe they talk with a different accent or wear different colors and different kinds of clothes. But I encourage you to look at the light. Look for the light. It may be pretty hidden, but you can indeed see light instead of the outside appearances. Everyone has the power of imagination, and everyone uses it according to their own consciousness. I use my power of imagination to create my life story. I implement the powers of discernment, understanding, and will as I imagine a positive, meaningful life. If disturbing thoughts cloud my imagination, I remember I can release those disturbing thoughts as I affirm more supportive ones. I actively engage my powers of faith, strength, and love with the power of imagination and put zeal to it so that I can fulfill my heart's desires. I imagine and create my most magnificent life. So with that, I'm going to invite our Ghostbusters to come up here so that you can hear and see this true story of the three little pigs. This is as told by a wolf. Yeah, a wolf. Grandma, anybody who wants to be a kid so they can come up and enjoy the story is more than welcome to come up here. Oh, you're going to sit. Can you sit? Wait, is that okay? Thank you. Now, everybody knows the story of the three little pigs. Do you guys all know the story of the three little pigs? Or at least you think you know the story, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has heard my side of the story. And here he is. Whoop. The author of the book, A Wolf. I am the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were a big bad wolf too. But nobody thinks cheeseburgers are cute, do they? Or do they? But like I was saying, the big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. Way back in Once Upon a Time land, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. And I had a terrible sneezing cold, but I ran out of sugar. Can't make a cake without sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, but he wasn't too bright. He had built his house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, the house fell right down. I didn't just want to walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch, and I felt a sneeze coming on. And I hoped, and I puffed, and I sniffed. Oh! And the whole house fell down right where I was standing. And you know what? That house fell on the little pig. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, and he was dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. Well, seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying right there in the straw. So I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. After that, I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have a cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. And this neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little bit smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. So I called, Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in? And he yelled back, go away, Wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. And I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down too, just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know, food will spoil if you just leave it sitting out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little bit better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. Now, this guy was also the brother of the first and second pig, but he must have had all the brains in the family because he had built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called, Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker said? Get out of here, don't bother me. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear, sweet old Granny's cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on again. And I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Oh. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. And the rest, as they say, is history. It's the big bad wolf in the headlines as he's being locked in jail. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. So we're going to do a little bit of a meditation. And we're going to sing a song to start, which is one of my favorite songs. And so, Mark, are you ready to play? We're going to sing. Do you guys know Kumbaya by chance? Kind of. And it's a song about asking Spirit or God to come and listen because we're praying and we're singing. So we'll sing that, and then we're going to close our eyes and just do a little bit of a meditation, if you're ready, okay? Everybody can sing, please.
Someone singing, someone singing, someone singing, someone's praying, praying, someone's praying. Listening, Lord. Listening, Lord. Listening, Lord.
So let's just take a moment and close our eyes if that's comfortable for you. And we are singing, we have been singing Kumbaya. I always thought of as come by here. We're asking the light of God to come by here, which is no stretch of the imagination because the light of God is right here within us. And so we sing and we pray and we listen. The listening is the meditation part. So you open yourself and reach inside, knowing that the true story of what is going on will be made plain and clear for you as you truly listen. The true light of all those other people outside of you will shine forth so that you may see them as they are, the perfect light of God. And so we are still for a moment, just giving thanks that the truth and the light and the love and the peace and the joy of God are shining right here, right now. We breathe into this light, this joy, this peace, and visualize it going out to every corner of the world, helping people to come to the awareness that they want the peace of God. They want the truth of God, the serenity and grace of God, that they are willing to put that first rather than last. And most of all, we let the love of God flow forth from us, knowing that a kind word can often soothe upset feelings, that a smile can bless someone else's day and make it holy, that even sometimes a silly costume can bring a little light to everyone. And so we are truly blessed this day to celebrate an excuse to wear a silly costume, to celebrate one with each other, that we can indeed see the light in all the people who come through the doors of unity. And so we let one more deep breath come up and out. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so. Amen. So I'm hoping you guys will help me. I've got some candy sitting in the basket here, and I was going to invite everyone else to file around the church, forming our circle. And I'd like you to come up and if you're in costume in particular, to come stand here by the camera so our people on Zoom can see the costumes, and then move out into the circle. If you're not in costume, it would be great to just wave at the people on the camera anyway. So if you girls want to come and stand over here by the candy, and then you can maybe hand one to each person as they come up. Maybe can we start over here and just come up and file around? Up, 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 up. And wave to the camera and the wolf. So you just have to look here for a minute. Okay. And then You want, can you go over that way by Jermaine, maybe? Oh, maybe one of you girls would take some candy over to Arlene and Jermaine. Yeah.
Get these little uniforms.
Can you say hi?
Say hi.
Yeah, to the camera. Okay, thank you.
You know what? I was sorry for.
Okay, so I know that Arlene did not get any candy, and so anyway. David? Okay, are we ready to let our light shine? And we will pray together our prayer for protection, and then we will sing together one more time as a community. So the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.